Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside, the podcast that is dedicated to revolutionising the way dental professionals succeed beyond the dental chair. Join us for a unique blend of insightful interviews with industry experts and valuable tidbits of information to help you thrive in your dental specialist practice. In each 20-minute episode, we'll delve into a variety of topics, including HR, marketing, innovative techniques and systems, and AI, to help you transform your practice and unlock its full potential. Whether you're a dentist, specialist, or oral health therapist looking to enhance your practice, this podcast is your go-to resource for professional, personal, and profitable success. Get ready to go beyond the dental chair and discover what lies ahead in your practice journey with Dental Success Beyond Chairside. Welcome to today's episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside. Are you a dental practice owner or planning to become one? Wealth creation is the goal, but what's the smartest financial path forward? Today, I'm joined by Kelly King, Director and Senior Wealth Advisor at Iconic Wealth. Kelly brings a world of experience in long-term planning and succession readiness. In this episode, we explore how intentional planning can create stability, support growth, and bring clarity to your business decisions. Kelly's insights are a timely reminder that profitability and purpose can go hand in hand. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here today. I'm very excited to be talking to you.
Me too. Absolutely.
Excellent. Kelly, are you able to share a little bit about your journey and how the right business structure can help minimise tax and support long-term growth?
Thank you. I have been a financial planner in Western Australia for 28 years. I started my career in retail and private wealth at ANZ Bank. Then after 22 years, I became self-employed and started business Iconic Wealth. I actually had to go through setting up business structures myself. Understanding the right structure is incredibly important. Looking forward rather than where you're starting is really, really important. Rather than thinking it's just me at the moment or it's just a partnership at the moment, thinking bigger picture at the beginning is really important. And working together with your accountant and also financial planner can be pivotal in the long-term success. Making changes later on can be really costly. So trying to forward think as much as possible is really important at that early stage.
So the importance of seeking financial advice and working with your accountant, because I know when we started our practices, we just took the advice from the accountant and they told us what to do. Now accountants, I understand, aren't able to give that advice. The importance of having both a financial planner and an accountant is very important. When you talked about looking at the bigger picture, are you looking at what their vision is and what they're looking for themselves and in their practice in the future for succession?
Definitely, but also from a tax point of view. So how you set up the ownership of your practice, depending on how long your intention is to own or work in that practice. If it's for a shorter period of time, the tax consequences can be larger than if it's a longer period of time. And setting up the right entity, not just for tax now, but also for tax later. Tax I'm referring to is capital gains tax. They're all different sorts of entities. You've got companies, you've got unit trusts, and also things like self-managed superannuation funds can play into the scenario long term.
So it's interesting. When we bought our practices, we used our self-managed super fund, but we had to wait to have the cash in there. And I understand now you can actually get loans through your self-managed super fund. So you can actually get a loan to buy your property and then pay rent to that. Is that right, Kelly? How does that work?
Self-managed super funds themselves can't borrow, but another entity is created, which is a bit like a bare trust, and that is the borrowing entity. But it's important to note that there are very limited institutions that will lend in that capacity, whilst it is the compliance related to self-managed super fund is very, very stringent naturally. It is a very specialized area of advice. This is sometimes where that overlay with accountants will come in. Is some accountants absolutely will not touch anything to do with self-managed superannuation funds. In environments like that, we would have the accountant, financial planner, and say mortgage broker that specializes in that space to get a very clear understanding of whether A, it's appropriate, and B, how this machine is going to be managed over the long term. Most definitely, all of those professionals will play a really big part in something like that. Most definitely.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I understood when we had our self-managed super fund that we weren't able to benefit from it, but it seems that it's a benefit.
Commercial property is different. But say if you were talking about a residential investment property, that always must be at arm's length. But commercial property is a bit different. That's why you'll see practice owners or different types of businesses would look at a commercial premises. But one of the most important things with anything to do with self-managed is diversification. The issue with a commercial property is usually the cost associated is quite large, and you definitely want cash to make sure that you have liquidity, you can cover the bills and the costs associated. But also, that is one big egg in a tiny basket. Diversification is incredibly important with SMSF. If you're looking that all the funds would be going into a commercial property, most advisors would have an issue with that from a compliance point of view. So diversification, most definitely.
As you said, there are limited lenders, and I think in the dental world, Kelly, I think Bank of Queensland and places like Credible that do the finance with the self-managed super funds. Obviously, you're getting that set up from the outset. You're getting it set up correctly for you for tax minimisation in the short term as well as the long term. What sort of practical tax planning would there be then ongoing from that, Kelly, from a financial management perspective for you for success in the future?
I think one of the pitfalls for a lot of self-employed people is not concentrating on superannuation early on in the piece. It's quite common for people to kind of go, well, that's a later issue. Let's just sit on the minimum because I'm not sure how cash flow is going to be. Also, the minimum age for access to superannuation is 60. So sometimes that can feel like a really big later problem. And then before you know it, later is here and you're well behind the eight ball. So starting planning for superannuation early on in the piece is really important, and it can help significantly with tax planning. Also having conversations with your accountant proactively rather than reactively, getting someone who's really on your side and having regular interactions with an accountant along with a financial planner to make sure that this is a proactive space rather than, well, 30 June's happened, how bad is it? It should be it should be proactive. Ideally earlier people start the better. But also something to be very mindful of is, again, superannuation is 60, but a lot of people don't, in this day and age, don't necessarily want to work at the same pace through to 60 like they used to. I think I'm seeing a lot more people who would love to be reducing the amount of work that they're doing prior to 60, sort of that mid 50s range. A lot of certainly high net wealth clients are looking at passive income streams that can supplement their income before superannuation kicks in. There are absolutely some tax effective options for creating a passive income prior to superannuation preservation age, so 60.
Resonates with, we've got Brad Potter, who is a broker a sales broker, and he said exactly that. He said the sellers were predominantly in the past 60s and 70s, and now it's become a lot younger, and he's seeing people in their 40s and their 50s now selling. And as he kept on saying, they go on their trips to Japan now, like all of their employees were.
Yeah.
But now it does seem that that is what is happening in the dental industry. Preparing for that passive wealth, as you said before, you're actually able to access your super is very important.
Most definitely. And the alternatives to property, I see a lot of people who haven't sought advice before would typically go to what they think is the most obvious, which is property. But the income returns from property is low compared to other types of investments. Property can be fantastic for capital growth, but when you're wanting to draw an income from something that is aging, a property ages, so the costs associated increase, and you're also relying on human beings to pay you or to do the right thing. Again, diversification for people who like property, that shouldn't be the sole source of passive income. It's not tax effective, and it's dangerous to rely on other human beings to pay you an income when you want one. Most definitely.
Wow, I have to say there's some bits of gold there. With this passive income, Kelly, is that going into like investment sort of groups where they have a diversification that you can actually get the interest or whatever out of it? How does that work?
You've got different types of investment vehicles. You've got things like direct shares, managed funds, ETFs, even investment bonds is another one, which can provide a significant tax advantage, which is a little bit more restrictive than things like managed funds and ETFs. So it's with that long-term growth in mind. But they would be the most common sort of pathways. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean high risk or 100% exposure to the share market. There are lots of varying degrees from something that's considered quite conservative all the way to something that's quite aggressive. Financial planners are the people that determine with you the level of risk that you're comfortable taking and finding the right allocation so that you're not taking more risk than what you're comfortable with.
Yes, we were certainly very conservative.
What your idea of conservative and what other people's idea of conservative is quite interesting too. So my job is absolutely to determine where is that comfort level and put whatever label on it that you want, but it is finding that right space for you, because it's not going to be the same as someone else's.
I think what you said as well, Kelly, obviously we were lucky because we did have financial planners very early on with our accountant, and investing into our superannuation, you know, we're not 60 yet, but heading that way, has been certainly very beneficial, especially what happened with our life with Ross getting ill has made a huge difference. We were always advised to put that money in there each year. Obviously, it was a tax advantage, but it was beneficial to us in the long run, even though perhaps at the time it was like, really, why are we doing this? And I know a lot of our friends are like, oh, we haven't put anything into super, and they've just used the property as their super. Sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can be bad, but it's about diversification, as you said.
Definitely, you can't sell a room of a house to go on holiday. You need that liquidity. You need a bit of everything. It's a matter of making sure that you're trying to tick all those boxes to reduce the risk to yourself. And you've got the different bases covered in terms of, if I don't have a tenant for a period of time, that's okay. I have cash over here. I have exposure to the share market over here. I'm covering as many bases as possible. That is what diversification is. It's not putting all your eggs in one basket. That's cash, shares, property. So everything comes back to that.
Is there other things, Kelly, that you think our listeners need to know that I haven't asked?
Oh, I think understanding that accumulating wealth is a marathon, it's not a sprint. The best way to maximize your wealth and minimize tax is to have a very good relationship with your accountant and financial planner, and for those two people to also have a good relationship on your behalf. I work with a lot of accountants in the Peel region, and gone are the days where it's us versus them. It's very much a team of consultants really working on your behalf, finding the right people for you and that they work together is really important. And I think you'd struggle to go wrong if you have those people on your side at all times.
I mean, that's the saying, isn't it? It takes a village to raise a child. I think from a dental practice owner's perspective, or potentially owners, you need to have those people around you to guide you. You know, they're great clinicians, they're great at what they do, but they need to be looking out for themselves in the long run for future success, for selling, for wealth, for their family, for everything. And to have those people around you so you're making the right decisions, because you did allude to earlier how costly it can be to change later. And just quickly, can we touch on that, Kelly? Have you seen that and what sort of costs are involved to the owners?
We'll say an example would be again, with property, someone going, okay, I'm going to, my husband and I are going to purchase the commercial property in our own names, and then business will pay us rent. If we then later decide, well, actually, that's better in a unit trust type environment or an investment company or proprietary limited as a trading arrangement, to change that is a sale. There's capital gains tax implications on changing ownership, even if it's you to you, but in a different format. And I think a lot of people don't realise that. That's why I'd always say go and sit down and go, where do I want to be? Where do I want this business to be? Long term, medium term, short term. And you should be realigning your choices as often as possible. I'm sure you would have mentioned it a million times. Taking the time to work on your business is so important. Really sitting down and with those professionals and going, is there something else I should be doing differently? This is where I want to be over here. What do I need to do now? And if something were to change, what considerations do I need to think of? Ask a lot of questions. I see so many people who have a lot of entities and bits and pieces, and I go, why do you have that? And I go, I don't know. This is what I was told to do. So, and it's everybody. You're not alone. You're not alone as a practice owner. I would say it's the majority of people that I see. They're not 100% sure why they have those things. I would always encourage them to get a mud map drawn up. I like flow charts. So this is what this entity does. This is why I have it. It might not be for today's benefit, but it's for when I sell, I'm not going to pay as much capital gains tax, or I'm not going to pay any. Having a really good understanding of why you have these things. And I would say that's definitely important. Absolutely.
That's a really good finish, Kelly. It's all about, and this is what I keep on going on about all the time, it's the foundations. It's laying those foundations for success. You can't start building the bricks without those there, because if you just start building the bricks, it's just going to fall over. Kelly, I thank you so much for joining us today and being part of our podcast. Really so thankful that you're sharing your experience and your wealth of knowledge that you have. Thank you so much. And for more information about Kelly and Iconic Wealth, please see our show notes. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thanks, Michelle.
See ya. In our next episode, we'll shift our focus to the financial health of your practice and why truly understanding your numbers is key to long-term sustainable success. I'll be joined by Sunil Purba, founder of the Integrated Executive. We'll talk about the financial metrics that matter most in specialist practices and challenges currently facing the industry. You won't want to miss this practical and powerful conversation. Thanks for listening to Dental Success Beyond Chairside. See you next time.